All right, feel free. It's happening. Bum 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 da 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 Welcome everyone. Shalom Aleichem. I'm so happy everyone's here. I'm happy I'm here. I'm happy. I mean, I'm not fully here. I'm just a little warning. I'm feeling it now. My sinuses are hurting me. I just went to Uzzieli in the shuk, put something in my nose, and it's like,
You're gonna be fine.
huh? I'll be fine. I'll be fine in the long run, but right now to get my thoughts in order won't be as simple. But that's probably better. Anyway, I'm so glad that we have another chance right now to delve. Mama know me. Thank you. So we're number 2 out of 4 classes. Thank you so much. Number 2 out of 4 classes on Sfirat HaOmer, on the time that we're in right now. And last week we began something which we're going to be continuing now. But even if you weren't here last week, it's okay, because we're going to review it very quickly at the beginning and then go forward. And I'm super excited for the continuation of last week's text, which is tonight, which was very, very hard. We worked really, really hard on trying to give it over, to present it in a way that we could really swallow and digest, and for it to become part of our immune system, actually going through this tkufa of Sfirat HaOmer. Do you have seats in the back? Not so much? Chaim Meir, come closer to me. I would have told you that anyway. Okay, come fast, Trevor. Come join us. Before we go back into this beautiful concept which we began last week, we can't ignore the fact that there's a lot of tears right now in the world. A lot. The last number from the Nepal is 2,500. Not to be believed. Not to be believed. And the real beauty of the Jewish soul is that when you hear about such a horrific thing happening so far away from us, to so many people that we don't have that much in common, you should be happy when your heart is bleeding and in pain over it. You should be. It's not that it should make you happy, but it's a checkup. It's a wake-up call. Like, oh yeah, I'm alive. I'm Mamish, a son of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. But I'm in pain over something that happened so far away. However, unfortunately, we don't have to look that far away to be tuned in with pain. Just over the weekend, 4 different terrorist attacks took place in B'nisei Nisim with utmost infinite miracles, that they haven't resulted in deaths. But Hashem Yisbarach should, how could they say God should do something? I don't know if that means God should do anything, but that we should be privileged to witness revealed miracles. B'mehera b'yameinu, soon in our days right now. Shlomo said, B'mehera b'yameinu, in our days, doesn't mean in our days, in our lifetime. He said it means with our days, that somehow with the beauty and the strength and the power that we infuse in our days, in our day-to-day life, that somehow the way we live our days should bring about great moments, great revealed miracles. Because hidden miracles are taking place non-stop, day and night, but revealed miracles as well. So we began doing something which is, I would say it was pretty, I don't know what the right word is in English, but pretty ambitious, I guess, to take on a topic of who is one that's a hero, one who knows how to conquer his evil inclination. Trying to understand what our Chazal, our sages, meant when they said that in Pirkei Avot. What does it mean to conquer your own evil inclination? We began discussing it last week, because one of the main works we're doing, one of the main avodot that we're busy doing, preparing ourselves for Shavuot, during Sfirat HaOmer, is tackling all those things, like we mentioned last week, all the things that before I was a free man, when I was a slave, I never dared attempted to take on. So before Pesach, if I could just wake up in the morning and believe in God for at least 2 minutes during the day, I did a good job as a slave. But after Pesach, toward Shavuos, somehow now the energy, the what's open for us is to truly go inside gates, walk through gates that in the past we would never dare walk through. Why? Because we weren't free people. But the freedom out of Egypt enables us to really walk into places we generally would not walk into. We wouldn't dare walk into. Not out of, because we don't, just out of like, it would be total chutzpah if we thought we could take on certain things. So, having said all that, I just want to bring our minds and our attention and our hearts back to focusing to how we began last week and how we ended off last week. Because the bottom line is that we defined what a yetzer is, what an evil inclination is. We made a very difficult statement. Very difficult statement. What statement was that? That God plants within us a certain evil. Each of us has a special evil that's just ours, just our own little evil. We're having trouble trying to understand, how could that be? How could you say that God gives you a certain evil? Everything from God is good, is beautiful. And we started coming up with ideas, trying to understand what that means, that a Kadosh Baruch Hu, the master of the world, creates us with a certain evil that we're supposed to work on. It's a very deep concept. And we mentioned one important thing that Reb Shlomo said. It would have been blasphemy if he would have said it, but he quoted in the name of Reb Chaim of Tzanz, one of the greatest, Rabbi Chaim Halberstam, the Divrei Chaim of Tzanz. Besides being one of the greatest Hasidic masters, he was one of the most prolific halachic authorities that lived in the last few centuries. And he said something startling. He said, where do we all come from? Who was the first Jew? Who was the first Jew? Avram Avinu. What do we know about Avram Avinu? What are the attributes that we know about Avram Avinu more than any other attribute? Chesed, kindness, love, generosity, open tent, going to look for shleppers to give them some geld, some money. That couldn't sleep until he was able to do some chesed in the world. Reb Chaim of Tzanz said, because I see most of you weren't here last week, so I want to mention this. Reb Chaim of Tzanz said that Avram Avinu was born with the stingiest neshama in the world. He was born with the stingiest soul in the world, and his whole thing, and maybe the reason why God spoke to him and sent him to the Holy Land, is that he worked himself up so much, went deep down inside, did the dirty work in order to cleanse that evil inside of him that he was born with, because he recognized something. I could blame my parents' house and my upbringing for the rest of my life. And they're holy excuses. They're right. My parents paralyzed me. The schools they sent me to were destructive. Sucked out every ounce of self-confidence. You ever realize that in every generation we think that we're the only people that are finally discovering this, as if our parents and grandparents didn't have the same exact thoughts and back in the day? But he realized something. Okay, so I could hold on to that, and I could even end up after 120 before God's heavenly court and proclaim, I did the best that I could given the circumstances. And maybe he would have even been given entry into the Garden of Eden. But like Reb Shlomo said many times, you know what the Garden of Eden would have felt like to him? A bench where it says, yeah, you're in the Garden of Eden. It wouldn't have felt like anything. But at least you could say you made it. Avram Avinu didn't let any of all the surroundings that were given to him, he didn't let any of that jail him. Because he realized that we are in, Reb Shlomo said last week, Olam ha'asiyah. We're in this fourth world, Atzilut, Bria, Yetzira, Asiyah. It's not time to go into what each world represents. But Asiyah, the world of action, of doing something, is the world that we are in. And Avram Avinu worked on himself so much because he realized if I'm in this world, it's not just to be like, well, this is who I am and this is what God gave me. Because you could blame your father screaming at you for the rest of your life and put all your shortcomings on that. But it eventually won't really get you anywhere. As a slave, that's what we do. A free person looks at any limitation that was pushed onto him, that he was forced to feel any limitation that was put on him, and he does not let that jail him for 1 second. For a free person, it's non-existent. That evil that existed in his life at a certain point in time is non-existent. However, I know there's a lot of commotion going on with people coming to stay with me because I'm following you. Okay, I'm mamish following you. I'm mamish feeding off of you guys. So please just stay with me. So the first way that we answered the question, Ezehu Gibor HaKovesh et Yitzro, who is a hero, who is a warrior, one who's able to conquer his own evil inclination, was we said something very beautiful. We said that each person has their own little darkness that they need to get in touch with, and by ignoring it, you're just kidding the world. You could be doing great in life. Rav Kook says this in Oros HaTshuva. You could be doing everything good in life. You could even be checking and saying, yeah, I'm doing pretty good here. I'm working on that, and still feel such a need to do tshuva, and you don't know why. Because when you do the outer checkup, everything seems to be in place. But when you let yourself go, like the Baal Shem Tov said, to find the diamond does anyone remember? In the bathroom, because God places it there because no one's going to look for it there. It's your own private domain. And you go there, then it takes so much strength. It takes such a good friend to put out your kishkas to, and it takes so much in order to believe I got to go to those dark and dirty places. A free person can go there. Because for a free person, those dark and dirty places don't define who he is, who he or she is. For a slave, finding evil in them identifies them. That's how they're identified. A free person knows that darkness, the anger, the stinginess, the immorality, whatever it is, that does not define who I am. That's an opportunity. That's a beautiful opportunity. So we began by explaining last week, how do I address this evil? So Reb Shlomo said, imagine that your thing is that it's very, very hard for you to give tzedakah. That's the thing that drives you meshuggah. You can't, you're stingy. You don't have a hand to give tzedakah. It's not your thing. So Reb Shlomo said, and it's based on a concept that Chazal say, Im paga b'cha menuval zeh, moshcheu lebeis hamidrash. Literally speaking, if this menuval, which means, we use the word bastard actually, but it means if that, I guess in modern Hebrew you'd say if that's like, I shouldn't even say it, but if that nasty person bothered you, if he wasn't nice to you, what should you do? Tell him off? Bring him to Shir. Moshcheu lebeis hamidrash. Bring him to the base midrash. What does that mean? So Shlomo said that means if my thing is that I can't give tzedakah because I'm so stingy, he says acknowledge it. Stop pretending that it doesn't exist. But invite him to come and put on tefillin with you. Bring that dark energy that's in your life and say, it's okay, I don't want you right now. I don't need you right now to give tzedakah, but just come put on tefillin with me. Hang out with me while I do this mitzvah. Hang out with me while I do that mitzvah. He said, if your thing is that Shabbos is just, it's so hard for you to keep Shabbos, then on a Thursday morning, invite brother, other side and tell him, listen, come, let's go pray this morning. Because the other side's not going to fight you at that moment. It's not Shabbos. Just come hang out with me while I'm doing some holy acts. Don't worry. No one's forcing you to do anything you don't want to do. There's no religious coercion here. Just come and hang out with me. Now, we stopped there, b'chavana, because today we're going to continue from that point, because if I asked each of you right now, what would you give in order to conquer your evil inclination? Is there a limit to what you'd give? Is there a limit to what you do, and for the lack of a better term right now, what you'd sacrifice in order to rid yourself of that thing which is a stamp of darkness in your life? You would do anything. Ezehu Gibor HaKovesh et Yitzro, one who knows how to conquer his own evil inclination. There are two ways of doing this. Right now, like what I'm blown away by this teaching is that here today and last week, it's practical. It's practical advice. It's not going to be so much, I'm going to walk out of here. Nachman says, it's not really that. Not tonight. It's avoda. It's work. And if there was ever a week to really sink into work, it's the week of Netzach. It's the week of Nitzachon, of endurance, of victory. Coming out victorious, which is what we're in right now, leaving right now the chesed and going into, I don't want to say what the next attribute, I didn't count yet. But you know what I mean? This is the week. If there's ever a time to become victorious over my evil inclination, don't worry, there's other stuff we have to work on too. It's not like, you still have a few more weeks till Sfirat HaOmer. But if we could look back that 49th night and look back and say, Ribono Shel Olam, I learned and I gave it my best shot, and I'm going to continue giving it my best shot. Fill me with as much Torah as you think I could handle, and then even a bit more. Have the holy chutzpah to say that. So today we're going to be picking up exactly from that point, continuing with some magnificent teaching from the Baal Shem Tov, a lot from the Baal Shem Tov tonight. And I want tonight's shir to be in memory of a friend of mine who died a few years ago, a young man, a father of a few children, with Yortzeits now, Reb Chaim Feigenbaum, Chaim Yisachar, I forgot his mother's name, Ben Sarah, a beautiful neshama with a beautiful voice and beautiful love of the Torah, who was taken at such a young age and had a big imprint on many people's lives, including my own as well. I have some letters we exchanged with each other. Him just talking. Did you ever see the sticker, beautiful sticker, I think it says, "It's all from Hashem." You ever see this beautiful sticker? It's all from Hashem with beautiful flowers and trees. If you see it, that was his thing. So this should be Leilui Nishmato. He was a student in Shalavim, and he lived in, I think, in Bergenfield, New Jersey. So I want this tonight to be in his memory. So we're continuing tonight, Conquering Your Inclination, part 2. Chelik Bet. Did it reach the back yet? Silence means yes. All right. All right, let's go for it. There's a whole teaching from the Baal Shem Tov on Tehillim. David HaMelech says, Hashem tzilcha. And in Hebrew, the word tzel means shadow. God is your shadow. At the exact moment I do something good, some type of holy goodness is coming over me. Like a drop of holy rain. Let's call it a little holy soul shower. When I'm doing something bad, something dark is coming over me as well. So when the great Kabbalists would do an act of holiness, they would first say, Hareini osa es atzmi merkava l'shchinasa yisbarach. I want to make myself into a vessel. Literally here, actually, merkava means chariot, right? I want to make myself into a chariot, into a vessel to receive God's presence. And you see what it is. The moment I make myself a vessel for that holiness to come into me, it gives me koyach, it gives me strength via heavenly Federal Express. So this is a conscious war against my evil. And this, tonight, we will see how we are going to be distinguishing between two methods of work to conquer our Yetzer. One is conscious and one is subconscious, meaning unconsciously. Very much based on a teaching we mentioned last week near Rabbi Nachman, that a person is not capable of having two thoughts at once. Right now, you're either thinking about what I just said, or you're trying to remember what I just said. But you're not, or you're still not hearing anything I'm saying, but it's one or the other. You can't have two thoughts at once. So one thing is for sure, when we talk about dealing with things subconsciously, we do not mean just ignore the darkness and somehow something really cool will happen. That's not what we mean. at all. But when it comes to conscious avodah, let's stop for a second. Reb Shlomo just said, when the Kabbalists would do a mitzvah, when they would say a bracha, when they would do something holy, they would consciously say, I don't want to just do this because it's the right thing to do, but I want right now that me being involved with the mitzvah is creating a vessel, and in that vessel, I want God's presence to be in it, please. And when that's my kavana, what do I receive immediately? Strength, because it takes so much strength to not ignore. It takes infinite amount of koach to be present out of choice, to choose to be aware, to choose. Was it you discussed with me last week, right? To choose to be mindful and to choose to not ignore it is a tremendously, it's not a simple thing. It's the most beautiful thing, but it's not a simple thing at all. You know, some people here, like, they say one of the most important works, avodas you have to do in your life is hitbodedut, right? Like Rabbi Nachman's hitbodedus, holy alone time. Ah, that sounds great, you know. It doesn't sound like learning Gemara 5 hours a day. It doesn't sound like fasting and rolling around in snow in the middle of the night. This is great. This is an easy thing. Do you know how hard it is to do hitbodedus every day? For real? Do you know how hard it is? I don't want to discourage anyone. However, it's not an easy thing at all. Because why? I'm dedicating conscious time every day to be conscious and aware, fully aware. I'm dedicating time to have chutzpah, holy chutzpah, to look into places I wouldn't normally look into. That's not a simple thing, but it's the most satisfying feeling that you could ever have. It's such a pleasure, such a divine pleasure. So right now we're starting with, I'm consciously saying that when I do a mitzvah, I'm inviting the Ribono Shel Olam's presence to be in my life. Boom, you receive koach right away from heaven to have enough guts to look in the bathroom, more or less. Okay, repeating last week's thing. Now the other side, Reb Shlomo says, third paragraph. I want you to open your hearts. This is also from the Baal Shem Tov. Imagine the stingiest miser in the world never gave 1 penny to anyone his whole life. And this miser has 1 son, and he's walking with this 1 son to the chuppah. At that moment, his happiness is stronger than ever. And at that very moment, a poor man comes in and says to this lousy miser, do me a favor, give me 100 rubles. He has no trouble giving it. Because at that moment, his soul is so absolutely filled with light. You see, this is a very important line for him. Please look inside, and if you don't have a page, listen. And to the chaver that are learning with us online, please listen very strong to the next line. You see, many of us assume that we spiritually are not capable of conquering our own evil. I look at my life, my upbringing, my limitations. What should I do? I have to put some life into myself, actual aliveness, chiyut. And in a certain way, it comes over here from a distracted place when I don't even realize it. Like this miser, he's not realizing right now that he's consciously giving someone tzedakah. But when you're so wrapped up in the world of light, like when you're busy walking your child to the chuppah, you're capable of anything in the world, but it's not a conscious decision. I bet you that poor man waited his whole lifetime till this guy's son got married to know that's the only time I can get something out of him, right? At that moment, I suddenly receive a flashlight to use in order to look into the bathroom where my diamond is. This is one way. But then there's even a higher level. Sorry. There are moments when I realize that whatever held me back in the past doesn't really exist. Now this is the greatest gift. This is such a beautiful gift. And here I have to segue for a second into a teaching of Rav Kook that we just learned this morning. And if you want to join us on the 3 times a week, we learn Rav Kook. In the morning, I send out the audio every single Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, more or less. The learnings we've been doing have been phenomenal. I'd be happy to share with you. This morning, we learned something incredible. So what happens to a person when they start to shine and they start to have feelings of wanting to do tshuva? So Rav Kook says they suddenly have enough guts to take the flashlight and go throughout their whole lives and see not just where things are bad right now, but to actually look back and see how bad things have been, how many people they've wronged, how many pieces of lashon hara they spread on a person. What happens to you? You're paralyzed. You're done. You can't conquer that. And Rav Kook is saying it's true. You're not going to now, if you spend all your time now going through each page of your diary from, let's say you're 65, and you kept a diary from the time you're 11 or you're 18. Now, I kept a diary, mamish, from the age of like 8 or 9. If I went back my diary in Kita Daled, 4th grade in Ranana, and I looked and, oh my God, I said that about that guy, and I know I did, actually, I remember. There was one guy I couldn't stand. What would happen to me? I couldn't breathe. I couldn't do anything. So Rav Kook brings down a fascinating concept, which I mamish can't believe he said this. And that's why I think maybe I completely learned it wrong, but I learned it with other people this morning, and it didn't seem like we were so far off. He says there's a concept in kashrut, which is called batel barov, batel b'shishim. You know what that concept is? Right? That if a piece of something, like when it comes to michas and fleishiks, if a piece of, what would be a classic example? Into a, if it could be nullified by a 60th, we say it's batel barov. It's not, we don't go nuts. So Rav Kook said, if mamish, you're for real, and you really know you've been cleansing yourself everywhere, and after all that you feel like I'm losing it, I can't do it, because I can't start going back and doing all this stuff. He says there's a concept of batel barov with someone's tshuva too. Couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. He says, Al Yisrash Mamish, he sounds like Reb Nachman. He says, Al Yisrash, do not despair, because for sure it'll be batel barov, your tshuva will spread and it'll nullify. It'll mamish be like a halachic nullification of a status thing that's not kosher. It'll mamish nullify it. How much hope Rav Kook gives to all of us right now. It's the last, if you want to look at it inside, it's in Perek Zayin, the 7th chapter, the last paragraph. Seif, bless you. Hey or Vav, I don't remember. The 5th or 6th paragraph in the 7th chapter in Oros HaTshuva. Mind-blowing concept. It's a little bit different from here, but here Reb Shlomo ended off this last paragraph with a very important statement. I want you all to think of something that's holding you down right now. Not for the sake of becoming nebuchs, for the sake of doing an exercise right now. Think of someone or something, a disease, an addiction, spiritual addiction, physical addiction, that is holding you down. Hug it. Hug it. Don't ignore it. Come to the shir. Bring it to the shir right now. Don't worry. You could still drink, smoke, eat, whatever it is after shir. Right now, for now, come. Sit by me. Because this is the real you, by the way. Just so you should know. Come hang out with the real me for a few minutes. Just hang out. Now, friends, I want you to understand that what Reb Shlomo says here is that eventually you'll realize that it's imaginary, what you just said, what you just thought of right now. It's not even real. In the deepest depths, it's not even real. You know, when someone would come to a Hasidic Rebbe back in the day, today what do we have besides the Am Shalom? A few hidden tzaddikim, cook up in Tveria, Kodesh Kodashim, talking about like you'd come to the Frierdiker Rebbe in Lubavitch. We'll see in a second, you'll come to his grandfather, the Rebbe Maharash, Reb Shmuel, the 4th Lubavitch Rebbe. You were in the presence of someone, bless you, who literally did not acknowledge the existence of any evil in the world, not because he was ignoring it, but because in his presence, evil did not exist. What type of evil? We'll get to that in a second. But the evil of limitations, the evil of paralyzing, the evil of self-persecution did not exist. So Reb Shlomo once said, why do you come and get a bracha from a tzaddik? Because you want to go and get a bracha from someone who actually believes that brachas really do break down all machitzas. You yourself are not sure. If you were sure, it'd be a different story. You wouldn't have to go to a Rebbe. So you go to someone who doesn't just believe and tell you that there's no evil in your life, but it's by him there actually is no evil in your life. You know, why is it that when you're around certain people, you feel like you can do anything in the world? And then when you're around the other people, you feel like you can't even begin to remember what your last name is. Why is it? Because mamish, certain people truly acknowledge and give such kavod to the concept of evil in this world. Not just do they give it kavod, they build the biggest evil binyanim, evil buildings in the world. They make it exist. They make it so strong. They create it. It's a hard thing to hear, hard thing to swallow. So with all that in mind, look at the next sentence, the next paragraph. Imagine I'm sitting all night at a bar, listening to dirty jokes from a stand-up comedian. I'm sitting there and I'm happy, having a good time. You know, I've seen people, mamish, smile, and it seems to be like real smiles. It looks like they're happy. Now the next night, and here I'm walking with my child to the chuppah. That's my life. One night I was in a bar, listening to dirty jokes, laughing away. And the next night, I'm mamish walking with my child to the chuppah. Now, I know that for most of us, we can't say that this exact contrast has happened. Maybe one of you. I don't have Baruch Hashem. You know, the children are still very young, but Hashem should mamish bring them the zivugim in the right time, the sweetness and harmony and only goodness.
Right.
But thank you. But right now, I've seen in myself. Some nights I'll be like, the lowest things in the world kivyachol make me happy, so to speak. And then the next night I find myself crying at a tish. Who am I? Who the heck am I? What really brings me light in my life? Who am I? Okay, so I think, assuming by your very some looks on your face right now, that you could probably relate to the latter, right? Now look what he does. Again, now the next night in here, I'm walking with my child to the chuppah. If someone will come up to me at that moment and ask me to compare the happiness from last night to tonight, how do I begin to answer that question? Everyone in their right minds understands that on the level of the reality of joy, and this is an important phrase, the reality of joy, the first night is not only not real, it's non-existent. Let's put it this way. It's a heavy statement. Let's put it this way. Sweetie, love, do you mind closing the... Thank you. Thanks so much. Not only can hatred... Now look, this, I'm telling you, this next few lines, we sat on for like 45 minutes trying to figure out how to present this. Okay? So take it in very deep. Let's put it this way. Not only can hatred never be as strong as love, it doesn't even exist in the presence of love. Imagine I would say to you, I love the Jews as much as the Germans hate the Jews. It hated the Jews. It just doesn't sound right. Because loving is real and hating is really non-existent. It's from a world of nothingness, absolute nothingness. In other words, the Baal Shem Tov is saying that all the evil which is in me is really only an illusion. Okay, so now stop. When do I make this last statement of the Baal Shem Tov real? When does it really become an illusion? Because until a certain point, it's not an illusion, it's my slave driver. When does evil become an illusion? It always was, but when do I consciously understand that which is choking me, it's basically an imaginary hand? Because that's all how do you want to conquer evil inclination? not by killing it. We spoke about Kenny last week from South Park. There's no such thing. It comes back to life every episode. We're talking about conquering your evil is realizing that it's not about killing it. It's about making it non-existent. This is the deepest steps ever. This is so deep. You want to conquer evil? By giving evil, like Reb Shlomo said, how many times are you supposed to clap on the table during Kriyas Megillah? When you hear bless you, when you hear the name Haman? Once. Why do you say bless you? Why? Why only once? Because if you have to keep on knocking him time after time, it means he's mamish strong in your life. One time, B'gamaynu. Conquering evil is not winning a war, winning a battle. Conquering evil is making it non-existent. It's not by removing that hand that's choking you. It's by realizing that there's no one really here that's choking you. Not your parents, not your rebbes that hit you when you were younger. I have friends, mid-40s, till today. They blame the fact that when they were in a cheder, when they were younger and they were whipped, that's what, I don't belittle their pain for 1 second. But don't you want to give your child a chance to be a warrior in this world? And show them by self-example that you're able to make evil non-existent? Again, I'm being very careful here, because this is not about belittling anyone's pain and suffering. God forbid. Chas v'chalila, chas v'shalom. But Ezehu Gibora Koveshet Yitzro, how many more years do we want to have to come out of Egypt again? Why do we keep on celebrating Pesach? Because I made it back into Egypt somehow during the year. We're talking living messianic times right now. So again, in other words, the bottom of this paragraph, in other words, the Baal Shem Tov is saying that all the evil which is in me is really only an illusion. There is no evil in the world. Now you see what I wrote over here. I wasn't sure what he meant over here. So there's no evil in the world, but really there's no evil in my world. Evil is not real. Now he says something important to calm a lot of people down right now. I can't say that all evil is an illusion, because there is evil in the world. There is murder. There's pain in the world. But holiness is a different kind of reality. This is mamish, the highest in the world. It's the highest in the world. In the reality of Kedusha, of holiness, evil doesn't exist. In my life, I have to be worried now. Reb Shlomo said something so important last week. It doesn't say, Ezehu Gibor HaKovesh et Yitzrot HaOlam, who is one that's a hero, one who conquers all evil that exists in the world. Reb Shlomo said, worry about one thing, Chazal say. Ezehu Gibor HaKovesh et Yitzro, his own evil inclination. That's all you got to worry about. I know it sounds very holy to not just tell other people, but to convince yourself that you're a warrior of peace for the whole world, and you're going to demolish evil in the whole world. No one has been able to do that. Even Moshe Rabbeinu couldn't do that. Only Mashiach. Chazal tell us, clean out your own home. Your own home. So all you have to work with is, now we're going to touch on philosophy, but mamish stay as far away as we can. All you have to work with is your perception of reality. That's all you have. You have nothing else to work with. You have nothing else to work with in this world. And in your reality, Hashem made you a shliach to be the Baal Habayit. God created you with a moach and a lev, with a mind and a heart, to mamish show God, you can trust me here in this domain. I'm opening up my own Chabad house in this domain, so to speak. Here, God, everything I'm doing is like the Kabbalist began, your presence down here in me. All I have to work with is my reality. Don't worry, I have a friend. It's unbelievable. he has been able to get so many people clean, paying for their rehab for years. And he's the most miserable person in the world. Because he knows that in a really weird way, that's only been a cover-up for him to take the flashlight and go into his bathroom and find his own diamond. And he never dealt with his own shtuyot, his own stuff. Chazal say, HaKovesh et Yitzro, it's your Yetzer. It's your thing. It's your balagan that you have to work with. And he brings it home. He brings this concept home even stronger. Okay, I want you to skip the page. So let's connect the conscious and subconscious ways together. Imagine my friend Avreimelech would constantly get on my nerves. Whenever I think of Avreimelech, my mind has terrible thoughts right away. So I say to my mind, but you do love Davido. So I say, concentrate for 1 minute about what's good about Davido. This is kind of connects to how we learned it last week. Of Shabbos is hard for me. I do tefillin, focus on tefillin, but acknowledge the evil and bring it into tefillin with you. At that moment, my mind is already a little bit on a holy level because I'm thinking good about the person. Meaning, okay, you didn't wipe out evil completely from your life, but for a second, you're choosing, again, I could do this. I could do this. I'm not a robot that's suddenly going to stop thinking bad about people. You'll learn the highest Torah about anger, and you'll still get angry afterwards, or you'll have the opportunity to get angry. But what do you do at that moment? Wait a second. Cleveland's going to sweep the Celtics tonight. That does make me feel very happy, right? So let me just focus on that for a second. Just for a second. Apologies to all the Europeans in the room. You have no idea what I just said. And most girls besides Shannon, who's from Cleveland. Sorry. Okay, so now we're driving home this point even deeper. This is one of my favorite teachings in the universe, and it's from this past Shabbos. So now listen to the deepest depths. The Torah says, "Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha." Reb Shlomo always said in English, you say love thy neighbor. And everyone thinks that that's a bad translation. It kind of is, but it kind of isn't. Because Reb Shlomo says, "Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha" means love the person who is standing next to you, meaning love whoever is your neighbor at any given moment. That's all the Torah expects of you to love. But what are we so big on? I love the world. What does that mean even? I love the world. What does that mean? It's great and it's beautiful. And everyone should aspire and have dreams to truly love the world. But the Torah doesn't expect you to love the world. The Torah doesn't say, "V'ahavta et kol ha'olam." V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. You want to really love the world? Start right now with whoever is next to you at any given moment. As much as we should love the world, look at these words, I don't have to love someone who's currently in China, who I've never seen before. But I really do have to love the person standing next to me. At that moment, at that very moment, I have to really turn my heart to them. And even if I have trouble with loving them forever, it doesn't matter. You see what happens to us? We look at someone and we say, okay, the Torah says I'm supposed to love them, so I'll do it right now, but I know that when they're not around me, I'll remember what they really make me feel. So Shlomo says, that's a real thought, but don't worry about that. All you got is right now anyway. You don't have tomorrow. You don't have 2 minutes from now. All you have is who is next to you right now. At that moment, I have to love them. And maybe slowly I'll love them after, but that's not the point. The point is, worry about the person next to you. That's the most important thing. So here he ends off with a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful story which ties up everything we've been learning together. This is so precious. The Yida Kodesh's son, the Yida Kodesh, his name was Rabbi Yaakov Yitzchak from Pshischa. He was known as the Yida Kodesh, the Holy Jew. His son, Rabbi Yachmiel, His Chassidus was Porisov. Did you ever hear of Porisov? Did you ever hear of Rav Ashlag? So Rav Ashlag, huh? The Bala Sula, meaning yeah. So yeah, they come from or those Rav Scheinberger. So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that this is where Rav Ashlag he was a chassid of I believe. He was also Chortkov and Porisov, I believe. So Rabbi Yachmiel, he was Rabbi Yachmiel Porisov. He was way out. He used to make a living from fixing watches. How so? So imagine Moishe's watch doesn't work. He would come to Rabbi Yachmiel and tell him, Moishe, sit down. Rabbi Yachmiel would then take the watch and take the whole thing apart. And as he was doing this, the Yidler who brought his watch to be fixed would begin to feel that he's taking out his own soul, turning over his kishkas 1,000 times. Mamash, that's what they would feel. At one time, a certain Yidler came to Rabbi Yachmiel. Everything seemed to be going right in this person's life, but deep down inside, something was wrong. Kind of like what we said before. He couldn't put his finger on it. He didn't know what it was. Bless you. Rabbi Yachmiel took the whole watch apart, and there was one wheel of the watch, one small inside wheel that wasn't working. Apparently, back then, the watches had all different types of wheels that would make it work. This little tiny wheel, but that was really in the inside of the inside, that's what was broken. So Rabbi Yachmiel says to him, you see, everything outside was working, but this inside wheel wasn't working. And when Rabbi Yachmiel said this Yidler was fainting away. He mamish turned over his inside of the inside of the inside of the inside. So what does this story have to do with us? The strongest thing in the world is to be the master of time, to know the secret of time. So first, on a practical level relating to our teaching tonight, becoming in connection to ridding yourselves of illusions, realize all you have is right now. I know it's already like a broken record because we've said it so many times, and yet it's one of those statements that you could say it a million times and it still is just something that you know is right, and it has no implication in your life. How many people have heard that concept, all you have is now? Eckhart, what's his name? The whole Torah there, his whole thing there is that concept. But it's not his chiddush, obviously. Hayom, the Torah of Hayom. We've heard that concept so many times. And however, not knowing how to live that concept keeps those illusions really strong in our life. Becoming the masters of time in a certain way is the work we have to do to be present, to be aware, to be conscious. Let me ask you a question. How many people have financial burdens in the room right now? Okay, now that was a trick question, right? Because he's not. If I wouldn't raise my hands, like, what kind of a pompous teacher is this? That he's asking who has trouble with money, but I don't. What I meant to do is that maybe all of us do, but none of us do. What does that effect have on my life right now?
But we still have financial burdens. No, sorry. Because when I think like that, I can't live in the moment. If that's what, now listen, I'm not chas v'shalom saying, hey, can I go check your bank account? And you'll see all the numbers went up because you learned how to be present in the moment. I wish, I bless you. Bezrat Hashem, all of us. There'll be a lot of mistakes in the bank, That's not, obviously it's not what I'm saying. But the illusion of that reality, that I have financial burdens, what does it do to me? I can't, it doesn't enable me to actually have access. I'm sorry? It's not an illusion, it's just a reality that you're choosing to actively ignore.
It still exists somewhere.
I would say that the illusion, no, it's good what you're saying. I would say that its illusion is that it portrays, that's what defines me. And the evil of it is what usually makes me spend most of my time worrying about. I'm trying to make this point a little bit clear because I know it's very hard. But a financial burden is something that unfortunately most of us could relate to. For instance, I know people, very few, they have nothing. Not much nothing. And they have everything. Now, how could it be? How could it really be that someone that has so many financial burdens in his life really lives like a free person? How could that be? How does that reality exist? But maybe you're right, because financial burden is a hard thing to say about it. It's evil. Let's take a tchuna nafshit, a characteristic trait. How many people suffer from guilt? No, it's okay. It's good. What's your name? It's great what you said, because it's good. We have to shift it to something different. So I'm thankful what you said. No one else is thankful about it, but I'm thankful. How many of us have some kind of guilt we have from home, from our mothers, my fathers, my brothers, my sisters? Okay, that's where we could really play with this even stronger right now. Does anyone have guilt? Well, now already we're sunk into it. But if I would have asked you 5 minutes ago, how many people feel a hand strangling their throat? So you'd say none of us. We said, wait a second. So what's real? What's the real you? What's your real life? What's your reality? What's your reality? Yeah.
I'm thinking that the illusion is the power that those things have over us. And I'm not crazy about the word evil.
Me neither.
Sorry?
None of us are.
Yeah, no, I mean the term.
Oh, the term.
The term evil. No, evil, I love evil. No.
You're right. The power that it does.
The illusion of the power that it has over me.
Good.
If I obsess about money, then that's going to impact in a certain way about how I live. So if I obsess that it's going to dominate my life and I'm going to run out of money before I run out of time, then it's not a great thing. So the illusion is the power that it has over me and the lack of belief that Hashem is going to make sure that somehow I get the food on the table. But I still have to worry about, I still have to be responsible financially.
Without it being an evil entity in you, an upset. Right, but so again, I want to stay away from that. That's a tricky, the money thing's a tricky one.
I mean, I'm a woman, I'm a mother, so
right.
Even with guilt, like I can feel that I should have done something differently and I wish I had done it differently. If I obsess about how I destroyed somebody's life because I did this and that, then that's the illusion that it has that power.
So becoming a master of time is knowing exactly when to address things and when not to address things. I think what we're scared about from teachings like this is that we're going to become these total shlemazels that don't worry about anything because I'm a master of time. I think that becoming a master of time is understanding that when I know that everything has its time and its place, then the obsession function ceases to exist. That's the healthiest balance in the world. Alavai. So let's just finish off this last paragraph. The first thing we are doing as we are coming out of Egypt is that we are all becoming watchmakers, counting the days and working on each sphera. Bless you. Counting the days, and you're getting a lot of brachas tonight.
So we are.
Bless you. Bless me back. Counting the days and working on each sphera means that, like we said before, now as a free person, I have enough strength in me to take my little watch apart, and each day I'm fixing one little wheel. But that's why Sfirat Omer is so special, because it's a time in the year that I'm learning how do I become aware, how do I become conscious, how do I become not overwhelmed by my life, by this, by realizing it's just tonight is what it is, tomorrow is what it is. But this is why every night is so precious and it's so important. But what would most, in our general psyches, what are we most attracted to? Leaving from Egypt directly to Mount Sinai. That's what we all want. We all want that. And you know what? Many times God says, you want that? Take it. And what do we realize after that? Wow, this means nothing to me. This means nothing to me. Okay, God, please now, give me the Torah of patience. Give me the Torah of patience. Give me the Torah of endurance, of nitzachon. Give me the Torah of chesed. Don't just let me feel chesed. Give me the teaching of chesed. Give me the teaching of gvura. Give me the teaching of tiferet. Let me count every day, every bracha, every ounce, every hour, every person, like every moment count. I want to show up with everything when I come to Har Sinai. But to sum up, and it's very difficult, such a strong piece, is that we're realizing Ezehu Gibora Koveshet Yitzro, the highest level, the highest heroic level, not power like we learned last week, but strength. It takes power to kill people. It takes strength, Reb Shlomo said, to diminish evil, meaning to make it not just weak, but to make it non-existent. Do you know that it's possible to do what you guys did before? When you imagine that thing that was choking you? Do you know that it's possible with the avodah of Sfirat HaOmer, every single night to go into another corner and be like, what's choking me here? And then take that deep breath and realize it doesn't even exist. And it's work and it's patience and it's silence. It takes a lot of quiet for this. It takes a lot of ridding yourselves of becoming self-persecuted Yidden, like we've been saying for the last few weeks. So Ezehu Gibor, we all want to be Giborim. We want our children, if there's one thing we want our children to look at us, when our child says, wow, Abata Gibor, that's like the highest thing in the world. That our children should look at us and say they're Giborim, I think, like for me, I look at my father, and that's one thing I always say, he's a gibor because he still has till today, every reason in the world. I've mentioned this to you many times. He has every reason in the world to have a life filled with guilt, pain, anger, and no honesty or trust with Hashem. His mother, I shared with many of you, his mother jumped off the train on the way to Auschwitz. He was born in 1948 after the war in Argentina. Life was horrible. What's so incredible is that he's mamish made so many areas of his life which really are legit evil to make it non-existent. Non-existent. So Kadosh Baruch Hu should bless us with infinite compassion. We need a lot of compassion for tonight's class. Patience and compassion. Our friend Pesach named his daughter last night, on Shabbos, Zohara Chemla, the shining of compassion in the world. A lot of compassion. It's so much compassion, self-compassion, determination with compassion. Both of those things together. Chemla Rabba, Haftanu, the deep, the real emesdik love that comes down. And I hope and I pray, Be'ezrat Hashem, that those of us that are in the room right now learn the real teaching of Ahavta L'Recha Kamocha. Please try it from tonight. From tonight. Try it from tonight. Do not worry becoming a tzaddik yisod olam. The tzaddik that's the foundation of the world. Whoever is your neighbor in the next 24 hours, put that avoda on them. Put that mitzvah on them. Ahavta L'Recha Kamocha. Whoever is that neighbor. And then, when you do look in the mirror, and you do go every night with the flashlight into the inside reel, and guess what? You know what you probably will find? Darkness. That's your gift. At that moment, that's your gift. Reb Shlomo says the soul exercises itself when it dafka goes to those dark places, but remember something so strong when you find that. Avram Avinu was born with the stingiest soul in the world. We're in this world to work. The work could either be like a slave that I see no tomorrow, or the work could be service of a free person. We are now free, not from working, we are free to work on all those things, which normally, if we would have attempted to work on them as a slave, I'd have no mastery on anything. The illusions would only get more and more real in my life. But as a free person that left Mitzrayim, that's walking to receive the Torah, Hashem should reveal to us how a free person serves Him. And all slavery in the whole world should be done with. And freedom should prevail everywhere. The real holy freedom, real emesdik of freedom, the real freedom that we've all been waiting for. You know, a malach, we say that an angel is someone who's always just waiting. They don't have free choice, but they're always just waiting to do what God wants them to do. And we're always so big on reminding ourselves, you know, you're not a malach, you're a human being, you're supposed to feel, but there's one concept of a malach that I do want to embody. A malach is Roshei Tevot. In Slonim, they say that a malach is the acronym of the words Ki mechakim anachnu lach. All I'm doing in this world is waiting for you, Ribono Shleilim, to show up. So in the parsha it said, Kedoshim to you, be holy, ki kadosh ani, because I'm holy. That's a very weird way and a very overwhelming demand. It's almost like God saying, I would like you to split the sea because that's what I do. Or I would like you to bring manna down from the earth, from the heavens, because that's what I do. And it can be very overwhelming to try to be holy because God's holy. Thank God Reb Shlomo taught us in the Meshilach. I'm ending with this. The p.2 says that Kadosh is from the meaning of being mizuman, being ready, being prepared, being ready at any given second. That's why the act of marriage is called kiddushin. That a husband and wife are telling each other under the chuppah, I'm going to be ready for whatever you need the rest of our lives because I know that you're going to be ready for me as well. So when God says, be holy, He says, be ready for me at any given second. Why? Ki kadosh ani. Because you know in your heart that I'm ready for you at any given second. You know that despite the fact that sometimes you don't talk to me for months, years, but when you do eventually come crying to me at the kotel 3 a.m, do you ever walk away saying, oh, he's not here? I'm always there. I'm always ready for you. So just try to always be ready for me. That's the real hachana for receiving the Torah. We should be ready for each other as friends, ready for each other as spouses, but ready for ourselves as individuals as well. And I bless us all to truly fall in love with the work that we have to do in Sfirata Omer, and we should all come out mamish like heroes that are conquering their evil inclination by making it eventually, Bezrat Hashem, non-existent. All right, we'll see you on next Sunday night, Bezrat Hashem as well. Okay, Shekach, thank you for coming, everyone.
It's easy if you're in India or worrying about my bank account. What's up? Yeah.
Like how do you expect? How do you expect? Like,